Welcome to West Virginia Sports Connection. We are coming to you from Adelphia Sports Bar and Grill in downtown Charleston, West Virginia. I'm your host, Tracy Abdullah, joined as always by my co-host, three-time NFL All-Pro from the Minnesota Vikings, Carl Lee. Carl, you just got back from Minnesota.
I did. It was really a crazy trip, too. I mean, I got bumped off of a flight. I ended up...
Wait, Carl Lee got bumped off of a flight?
Well, I'm flying standby, okay. And it really caught up with me. I had my hotel was booked at the wrong place. So it was one of those kind of crazy trips. But yeah, I just got back. I got back Saturday. Went up for Steve Jordan. A lot of people might not remember that name. He was.
I remember that name.
He's the exact model of what today's tight ends are: block, run, catch, all of those kind of things. He just went into the Ring of Honor. I mean, his stats, they were reading them out, and I mean, you know, he was leading of all tight ends for like the longest time, and he's still probably in the top few. So, I mean, he has Hall of Fame numbers. So, a bunch of guys came back and had a chance to celebrate his going into the Ring of Honor, which are the Vikings. I think there's only like 25 guys in that elite group of players in Viking history that gets inducted every year. I think Randy was a couple of years ago. So I mean, it's a very unique and talented group of players.
That must be pretty cool. You've seen kind of the evolution of the tight end, because I remember growing up, you didn't see many tight ends catching the ball. I think one of the first ones I ever saw, was Todd Christensen, who really kind of broke out the mold, and then it just went nuts. You had Shannon Sharpe, and you had obviously Gronkowski now, and you had Steve Jordan, you had all these guys. When did that start evolving?
You know, think about this. Steve came in 82. He came in a year before me. So, you know, you think about guys like Shannon Sharpe and some of those guys. You know, Ozzie Newsome was before that and was they were big guys. They could catch and block, but the athleticism was a little bit different. Not that Ozzie wasn't athletic and caught a ton of balls, but Steve was just
He tortured the Steeler fans.
Yeah.
I didn't like Ozzie Newsome very much.
I'm sure you did. But Steve was like uniquely different. I mean, he was 225, 230, somewhere, you know, probably no more than 240 at any given time. Could catch every ball, could run deep, you know, could beat corners. And so the evolution of tight ends to what it is now is they're just a big receiver. You know, I don't know if they blocked as much as Steve would have been blocking, because again, back then, you might have 15, 20 passes in a game, where now you're talking about
35,
30, 40, yeah. So it's a little bit different now, but even at that, you think about a guy having these crazy numbers when you literally only had, again, maybe 25 passes in a game, you're a throwing football team. So he was able to make these catches when, you know, there weren't a lot of opportunities to do it.
I thought that's always interesting. So you traveled up to Minnesota. I want to peel back a little bit to your days in college. Marshall, very exciting game this weekend. They've had, I don't know if I want to call it an up and down season, but they've had some highs and some lows, and they looked good in some losses, and they looked bad in some losses. But then they pull out with their kicker, last-second win last week against Western Kentucky. As a player, Carl, I got to know what the inner workings of players are when you know the game hinges on a kicker. They can make or break you.
Well, yeah, and you have, and a lot of times you are basing that. You're worried if your kicker is sporadic. I think this situation, you know, there was a couple of opportunities that he was iced a couple times, and went ahead and kicked it and made both of them. So I think there was a lot of confidence around that. You know, when you're in a situation like that, you are a little nervous, hoping that the kicker will make it. But in a situation like this young man was pretty certain that he could make it, and I think the team was probably very comfortable with it, especially after making two. But this up and down kind of thing, I truly believe this is just part of being a young football team. I don't know if there may be 6 or 7 starting freshmen in the next game. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was thinking about WVU. I skipped on to WVU. But Marshall actually is a team that's supposed to win. And I'm almost going to make the case, Tracy, that if you take this team, if they'd have just ran through the conference, if they just would run through it and just beat everybody, I think there's a chance at the end they can be complacent. They've struggled to win pretty much most of the season, and like you said, it's this up and down kind of thing. And if they're able to continue to win, get to the playoffs, I think they'll be prepared, or at least mentally they'll know they've got to get better and more consistent to be able to win.
Well, put on your coach's hat. You were a coach for what, 10, 11 years?
Yeah.
And you played for all the other years. When you're a coach and your team is like that, whether it's a young team or an older team, are you kind of just, how do you handle that when your team is inconsistent in the winning or the losing?
Well, I'm gonna just jump ahead a little bit to WVU. What kind of leaned over there for a second. You know, when you have freshmen, you kind of expect them to be hit and miss, hot and cold, up and down. It's just a consistent kind of thing to where you can get them comfortable in playing consistent, and that takes a while. When you have a team that believes that they're good, there's two sides to that. They can be complacent, or they just go. Like you look at a team like a New England Patriots. They go and they play. They play every week. Not at their best, but they play every week. They go out to win. Those teams are great when you can find them. Those are tough. Those are dynasties, okay? You take a team like a Marshall football team that's expected to do really well. Not that maybe they might not lose a game in the conference, but their inconsistency, in part, I believe, is there's a couple positions that I think that they absolutely have to be better at. And one is the quarterback. This is the quarterback era, and you have to be good. You have to be great at the quarterback position in order to manufacture a team that's going to be consistent week after week.
I know you said you weren't really sold on Green, and again, he's a sophomore.
Yes.
He's still really young. He's got skills,
yes.
Clearly.
Yes.
What do you think it'll take for him to really kind of put it together and mesh to the way they need to? But before you answer that, we're going to come back. We're going to take a break real quick. They just told us, hey, you got to take a break. So we're going to take a break real quick. We'll be right back.
Funding for West Virginia Sports Connection provided by West Virginia State University, The Barnes Agency, Spriggs Distributing, Tony the Tailor, West Virginia's finest men's store, Paul Corey, CPA and Associates, Hendrickson and Long.
It's fall here at Tony the Tailor. No one in the Mid-Atlantic does men's clothing like Tony the Tailor. Best selection of quality sportswear from Johnny O, Brax, and Ledbury. Huge shoe department featuring Cole Haan and DiBianco. Jackets and suits from Hickey Freeman, Samuelson, and Talia. And, of course, free alterations by Master Tailors. Tony the Tailor, 822 Virginia Street, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
Welcome back to West Virginia Sports Connection. We are coming to you from Adelphia Sports Bar and Grill in downtown Charleston, West Virginia. And if you like what you see, I'm going to get a plug in real quick, Carl. We can check us out every Thursday at 7 p.m. on Public Broadcasting's West Virginia channel. You can check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, on Apple iTunes, and our website at wvsportsconnection.com. Now that we've taken care of that, when we went out of the break, we were talking about the inconsistencies of a young quarterback, specifically Isaiah Green at Marshall. As a coach, how can you get this kid to be more consistent, to hone his skills? He's still pretty young.
Well, I don't think there's really anything that you can do, because every week there's going to be some kind of a change. He's going to see something new. all of that becomes, I mean, let's go again back to probably the best quarterback ever to Tom Brady. There's what can you throw at him that he doesn't know? Compared to somebody that's younger, even a rookie quarterback in the pros, he has not seen all of the different dynamics that a defense can show you. And so when you start talking about the college, you're younger. That inexperience is a huge difference, you know, because you haven't seen 12 games, 20, 30 games. You know, you just haven't seen that many games and different schemes. You're looking at them on film and you kind of think you have an idea, but what happens, you get into that game and there's a tweak here and something's happening there and it speeds up. And they say the better the better you get, the slower the game feels to you. And for a quarterback, that's critical because you're in such a panic to get the ball off, who to hand it to, what audible to make. All these different things are happening all at one time. And for you to be able to be calm enough and say, oh, okay, the safety's down. Looks like it's cover 3. I need to check to this. I'll make this check and we'll just go. To get to that space takes a lot of time and a lot of reps.
So when you get somebody like a Tom Brady, you're just really blessed as a coach. I remember asking you, is Belichick really a genius? And they're calling him possibly the greatest coach in any sport. And your answer was not a definitive yes. It was actually quite opposite. It was like, no. And clearly he's a good coach, but I mean,
I think if you have an organization behind you that's looking to win. I mean, I don't think everybody. People just automatically think every organization really wants to go out and win. They really want to pay for the players to win. Not all the time. Sometimes it is doing business. I think it's very clear that the Patriots have established themselves as the organization that very down the line, you come to us, we expect you to do these things. And we are expected to win. And that's why when you get guys who have had some bad issues, some bring a little dirt with them, that dirt usually goes away when they get there or they leave. You know, that's the only option.
We saw that this year.
Yes, we saw that this year. That's how that works. So it's a blessing to be inside of that organization, no matter if you're the coach, because you can go get, if the Patriots are looking to get somebody, you know that you got the money behind it to go get it. And if you
write the check.
When you start talking about your star quarterback taking a cut, maybe just to get somebody else in, why? To win a Super Bowl. And that, I believe that organization is committed to that. And I think that when you start talking about a quarterback and how he plays a role in that, he is the leader of that whole thing. He sets the example.
He's the guy. Well, I want to flip a little farther north and the inconsistencies in the quarterback play at WVU. Obviously, it has been up and down. And when Austin Kendall got hurt, I don't think Jack Allison, when he came in, he played fairly well for a while against Texas and did pretty well. But then, then Kendall's back in week before last, and it's inconsistent. Some passes you're like, okay, now they're coming around, and then you'll see some others or decisions where you're just scratching your head.
Those decisions are different because of the scenario and what they're looking at is different. A lot of times what we think about is, because he had a good game, he can be now consistent. But what happens is teams change up the looks and those kind of things. And all of a sudden, when you get yourself in a situation where you're confused, and again, it's that game speed. All of a sudden, the game is going so much faster, and you can't slow it down because you're not sure what's going on. The tighter the game, the bigger the pressure. That's mounting on you, and you are the guy with the ball every single snap. You're the guy who's got to get it and make that touchdown. Or get it to somebody's hand and get the first down, or get positive yards, get a touchdown, score, win the game. All that pressure is on you. As a young quarterback, that's a challenge. Out 2 weeks, you can only do so much. So another quarterback, so all of a sudden you're in the game. Well, you get a couple of games and then you're back down, I'm back up. That doesn't really work in the favor of either quarterback, because you want to be in there and go through all of the different issues all at one time, face them, and you're going to ultimately get better.
So the old adage, when you see a team use two quarterbacks, say, we have two good quarterbacks, they really don't even have one.
Yes, yeah. Every time you hear a team talk about it, and you don't hear it that much anymore, But you used to hear all the time, well, we've got 2 starters. We'll probably play them both. No, you have none.
Yeah.
You know, because essentially what you're saying is you can't decide. Somebody has to be a clear favorite to be able to lead your team. You know, a guy can be a leader, but he can't throw. Okay, you're looking at that, but a guy can throw. Who are you going with?
Well, the guy who can throw that ball.
There you go. I mean, there is a way to make that pick no matter what those pieces are. The guy who can throw the football, the guy who can run the football, the guy who can see it. I mean, that's the guy you got to go with no matter what the case is made around it.
That's, you know, again, I want to flip gears and talk about high school football because we talked a couple weeks ago when Derek Red was on the show. There was Martinsburg and Cabell Midland. And Cabell Midland at the time, at the time was ranked number 1, while Martinsburg was number 2. But then everybody was like, yeah, Martinsburg really is number 1.
Yeah.
And now they're number 1. Why are they so much better? Is it because of where they're located? I mean, they are a suburb of D.C. It's a bigger area. I don't want to say a recruiting area because it is high school, but we all know how that goes.
Yeah. Well, anybody who's playing high school football that's anywhere within that area or just on the outside of that area wants to play for that team. This is an era of where you're not so concerned about playing in your community where you belong. You want to belong on a team that is winning championships. Martinsburg is that place. That's not necessarily their fault, you know, that everybody wants to come there. But once you've built that tradition, people just come. You don't have to, quote, recruit. People are just showing up because they know there's the chances. It's like if you're in the NFL and you're ready to get traded or your contract's up, you're looking where? New England. That's where you want to go. Everybody wants to go where the money is, but hey, I'll give up a meal or two to go to New England because I have a chance. So I think the same is true with Martinsburg. And again, when we talked about them not being number 1, it made no. I mean, even at that point, it made no sense that this team. Not saying they can't lose, but you can't not rank them number 1.
It's hard to beat out talent, and that's what they seem to year in year out be loaded with. So we're going to take another break real quick, and we'll be right back.
Funding for West Virginia Sports Connection provided by West Virginia State University, the Barnes Agency, Spriggs Distributed, Tony the Tailor, West Virginia's finest men's store, Paul Corey, CPA and Associates, Hendrickson and Long.
It's fall here at Tony the Tailor. No one in the Mid-Atlantic does men's clothing like Tony the Tailor. Best selection of quality sportswear from Johnny O, Brax, and Ledbury. Huge shoe department featuring Cole Haan and DiBianco. Jackets and suits from Hickey Freeman, Samuelson, and Talia. And, of course, free alterations by Master Tailors. Tony the Tailor, 822 Virginia Street, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
Welcome back to West Virginia Sports Connection, and I want to introduce right now a very special guest for us. He's a friend of the show. He's actually one of our benefactors, Dave Hendrickson from Hendrickson and Long. Dave, thanks for coming down.
Thanks, Trace. Appreciate it.
Hey, listen, we brought you on because your fundraising abilities. You do a lot of fundraising for state, for West Virginia State, for WVU, for UC, for West Virginia Tech, and you just had a fundraiser for the Tech basketball program. How did you get involved in that, and how important is that? Because you see the inner workings and what it takes for these programs to succeed.
Well, my law partner's son, as you know, has just been appointed the head coach at Tech in basketball, and great kid. I've known him since he's been a little baby, and I actually dropped him in the snow when he was a little kid. Didn't mean to, but did. True story. But no, when he got appointed and stuff, they said they needed some help raising money, and it's tough at that level to raise money, and so we said, okay, well, let's give it a shot. And so last Saturday night here, great food, great attendance, and we raised almost $6,000 here, and then we had another $5,000 raised from before, so almost $11,000 in 2 events. So
I was listening to, conversation around Marshall this past weekend about how much money, they're rolling out this baseball field or something, and there's 100 million already there. They need 150 million. When you say 6,000, I know how big that $6,000 is compared to maybe like somebody here. Well, $6,000, that's not a lot. Oh no, when you start talking about Division II sports, West Virginia sports, that $6,000 is as big as $1 million could be anywhere. Explain to us, if you can, the value of that, just that amount of money, how big that is for a school and what it does for a number of athletes and or equipment and all those types of things.
Well, they can use it for a lot of different reasons. And I mean, when it's non-discretionary funds like that, they can use it for scholarship money, they can use it to pay coaches, they can use it to buy uniforms, which, we all take for granted. You were at a D1 school, we take it for granted that these schools have all this money. They don't have that much money.
Right.
They really have no money at all. And so when you raise that kind of money for these guys, it's a big boost to them. Now, we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to go and see what we can do. But, it's funny. It's like my alma mater's WVU, but gosh, guys, it's like every other day I get something else from WVU, whether it's the music department, whether it's the athletic department, whether it's the history department where I graduated from, or law school. And they're all looking for money. And I mean, in this state, we don't have that many people. So if you can raise $11, $12, $13, $14,000, that could be the difference between them being a winning program and a losing program.
Well, and I could say this, when I first got to state as the head football coach, we didn't have a weight room. We didn't have, we had nothing. The equipment was just terrible. And you probably remember this, Sterling Sharp bought our uniforms, every one of our uniforms for us. Just as a friend of mine, he would come to training camp and do these kind of things. And when you start talking about being able to have someone buy uniforms for you, he'd cover our costs anytime we went down into the Carolinas. He's from Columbia. He would meet us at the restaurant, the hotel. He would cover it. I mean, that was like unbelievable. I mean, that's like a free trip for us.
Yeah.
That's money, like you said, that undiscretionary money is like so special because you can do what you want, and it helps you endlessly.
Well, it's like Fairmont State a few years ago came and said, we're trying to redo our locker room for men's basketball. Catfish is a good friend of mine from WVU. He used to play basketball at WVU, and he said, can you do a couple lockers? Well, I'm not a Fairmont State grad, but I love Catfish, so yeah, we helped out.
Right.
And we try to help out a lot of causes, just like this place here.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is always having fundraisers here. I mean, this is an amazing place. I don't know how much money is raised in this bar, but I bet it's a bunch. But it's all for good cause.
Raised a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's always good. But it's hard, but you still got to keep going. Right. And I'll tell you what, the good thing is most of our friends are really generous with their money. I mean, we've all been blessed. We own a building next door, and God's been good to us. And I'll tell you what, you got to give back, and that's what we've always tried to do. And most of my friends feel the same way. And whether it's to West Virginia Tech, or it's West Virginia State, or it's WVU, or it's Fairmont State, that's what it's all about.
As a coach, you just talked about all the benefits that you can get from that. What happens if that doesn't happen? If there's not people like Dave Hendrickson or Adelphia or other places that are raising money for a program like State? Because I do remember, I mean, coming right out, you brought Sterling on the show way back when, on the old show we did, and then when you told me that, I was like, really? Like, you bought the uniforms and you bought this? So if you don't have that, can the program exist?
No, and if it does exist, it's just on a shoestring, and it destroys the positive piece for the players or the athletes that you have when you go somewhere and their locker room is nice and you look at it, you say, oh, they got a weight room. I mean, just all of those things matter to players. When you get a kid, he drives in, comes in, you take him down to your field, and the old field that down at State, when you look at that, and you're like, no, I'm not, why would I come here? You go in the locker room, they ask to see the weight room, and you go in, to basically a bathroom and there's some stuff sitting around. It's difficult, it's challenging, it's almost embarrassing to bring these kids in, and you have to do it. You have to take a shot. And you don't even get a chance to even sell yourself in the recruiting process when you have nothing to offer them. Because that is part of what they're looking for. They want something when they come there.
The difference between when you were at State and the difference now, because I mean, we did a show down there last year for the coaches thing, and you were awesome at that. But we sat in a room that never existed before, and they had these nice locker rooms, and they had all this stuff. So describe the difference between when you were there and now.
You've probably seen those changes and been part of those changes, making those changes happen. It is so, it's amazing to me that they've made these changes. I'm happy that they've made them. I don't really say, oh gosh, I wish I had it. It is what it is. They have it now, and those kids are getting an opportunity now to enjoy it, and hopefully it'll just continue to get better.
But don't you feel like some of the things you did maybe laid the foundation? You laid the foundation for improving the program. Dave, you've helped out with raising money. I mean, do you guys kind of look back and be like, all right, I was part of that? I mean, and it's really, and we've talked about this with your legends, building legends, you're kind of changing the world. I mean, it sounds a little corny to say, but you are, in fact, making an impact on these kids' lives. And, unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap that up because they just told us that. But what kind of an impact, when you see that, how, real quick in the next 30 seconds, how long, what does that do for you?
One kid at a time. One kid at a time. If you can change one kid's life means the world. Every kid that graduates from a 4-year institution is going to make $1 million more than the kid that doesn't in his lifetime. That's a fact. Research it. It's awesome. One kid at a time, and that's why we do it, and that's why we love doing what we're doing.
Well, Dave, I want to thank you for coming down. Thank you for helping us put this show on air. And hey, it's been West Virginia Sports Connection. Don't forget, you can check us out on West Virginia's public broadcasting channel, their West Virginia channel, Channel 5, Thursdays at 7 o'clock on Facebook, YouTube, Apple iTunes, and our website at wvsportsconnection.com. We'll see you next time.